Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You get divorced. You get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello, and welcome back to Divorce Happens, the podcast where we support you before, during, and after divorce with education, inspiration, and a little bit of laughter. Because as we know, divorce happens, and then you start fresh. And we're here today with one of our friends, and for one of my favorite segments, What You Learned from Your Divorce, with Laura. Laura, can you tell us who you are and what you do, where you're from, all the things?
My name is Laura Wheatman Hill. I'm an independent journalist, which is something I started doing when I got divorced. And I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Nice. Okay, Laura. So what are the 3 things that you learned from your divorce?
Right. So I learned a lot from my divorce. It was not a very pleasant experience, but what I learned was amazing. The number one thing and the most important thing, I think, is that for me, my female friendships are the most important relationships I will ever have. So I was in a very traditional heterosexual marriage, mom with kids, was the primary caretaker. And when I got divorced, I thought I was now alone, and I wasn't. So I had really lovely friends who I should not have been surprised were there for me, but were immediately there for me emotionally and physically, like literally. So I had people who I could talk to about the process, even though most of my friends had not gone through this. They were a sounding board and they were very empathetic. And then I had people helping me all of the steps of the way. One of my friends cut, hemmed, ironed, and hung all the curtains in my house. And it's the kind of thing like, sure, okay, I can hang a curtain. But having a friend who just was like, yep, I'm doing this huge annoying task for you was sort of like a gift I didn't realize was going to be so incredibly valuable. So I've noticed it's been about 5 years since that, because I had to be really honest and vulnerable with them about what was going on with me. And because I've noticed that now my friends are able to be honest and vulnerable back with me. And I love that we can have a deeper relationship now.
I love that so much. There were so many things you said there that I was just like in my head, like, yes. You know, the thing with the curtains is exactly why we founded Fresh Starts. Like, that's the whole reason, right? Like, you go through these life changes like divorce or a breakup, and your people want to help you. They just don't know exactly what to do. You know, my sister always says when she left her fiance and she had a totally new place for herself, her friends were like, can we cut up your boxes? Can we help you move things? Like, and so I love that curtains. And, you know, also, yes, because I had the same experience. I was open and vulnerable with my friends. And of course, lo and behold, 5 years later, right, a lot of them are going through the same experience. And so they come back to me. So I absolutely love that. What a great lesson to learn. Okay, so number 2 is what?
Thank you. Okay, number 2 is maybe more of a negative, which is that I didn't realize until I got divorced how much our society is built for couples. And it's the kind of thing where I grew up being told I could do anything. But then actually now that I live alone, it is manageable and I love doing it, but the world is not meant for me to live alone. And financially, it's not super sustainable to be the only adult in your house making money. And then people just assume you are in a couple or want to be in a couple. So my car's in the shop. Repeatedly, they're asking me, do you have another vehicle? Do you have someone who can come and get you? I said, no, you need to give me a loaner. Like, I need the system to help me out. And I can be as self-sufficient as possible. But the system itself is confusing. So my female friendships have really thrived, but our family friendships have not, because I do really like all my friends who are married. I like their husbands, but it's kind of boring for them to be the only dude if we're doing like a family vacation or a family outing with all the kids and the grown-ups. So I noticed that. And I used to go on double dates and I don't go out with couples anymore. And it's kind of sad. And I have the gift of the female friendships, but it
Right.
also really helped me notice where we as a society are kind of failing families in general.
Totally, totally. That is a very interesting insight, and I've definitely experienced some of that myself too.
Mhm.
Interesting. No, it's fascinating. It's something that we don't talk about because I think it's still taboo to talk about, like, the fact that, like, divorce itself is obviously still, stigmatized and shamed and stuff, but people get really, really weird about it, and especially, like, couples can get weird about it, so I hear you. I validate all of that.
My credit card company is always asking me, "Do you want to add someone to your credit card? Do you want another person on
Yeah,
your card?" No, I don't. Thank you.
that's so fascinating, so
Yeah,
fascinating. Okay, I love that. So, Laura, what was the last thing that you learned? Or, I mean, the third, not the last, but
sure.
yeah.
I think that the third thing I learned is about myself, which is that I do actually prefer to live alone. As hard as it is, I never lived alone until I was divorced. And I do live with my children, obviously, part time. But as an adult, I lived with my parents until I went to college. I lived with a roommate in college. I moved in with my boyfriend, who became my husband, who became my ex husband. I
Mhm.
never was the head of the household. And I actually really love it. For very like practical reasons, like I can do things that I didn't do before. Like I never used to grill. I did all of the cooking in my marriage, but I refused to learn how to grill because it was the only thing I could outsource. But then I got a grill and it's my favorite way to cook and it's also the easiest. So
I love that. I love
yeah.
that. It's so
And
interesting.
so like there's these practical things. And then also from like a nervous system standpoint, I
Yeah.
did not think I was an introvert. And maybe I'm not, but like I really need that quiet time where this house is mine, this space is mine. So even if I'm choosing the TV show at night after the kids go to bed and I don't have to do the dishes. Nope. I will, but I'm not accountable to anyone except myself and it's okay. That was a surprise that I didn't expect. I really thought I'd be wanting to partner up again and not liking managing the house. And like granted, have challenges with it and managing my life in general as a solo person, but I've done so many things I never did when I was married. Even though when I was married, I had more money and I had someone who theoretically could
Mhm.
watch kids so I could do the things. I traveled a lot more in the 5 years, even though the 5 years were pandemic years. I've traveled more in the last 5 years, going farther and doing cooler, bigger things. I was not a writer when I was married. I mean, not a professional writer. And also, I hardly wrote as a hobby. And
Mm.
it's I just something I wanted to always do and then made happen. I read more books now. I read a wider breadth of books and I overall just feel so much better. And part of that is because of my specific situation in the marriage, but also has to do with who I am as a person, personality wise.
Mhm.
And I also just encourage people. It's a cliche. People said you should always live alone before you move in with someone. And I never did. But I actually totally understand why it's such a gift to be able to know yourself as an individual.
That resonates with me so much. I was the same. Like, I love my quiet time. Like, there's nobody, and it's very empowering to know that you're the head of the household. It really is. I love all of that. Okay, Laura. So if somebody's listening to this going through a divorce, which they probably are, what would be some words of encouragement that you could leave them with today?
I had a hard divorce and I had a hard relationship that I was getting out of. And people, every time we talk about it, people say to me, "Aren't you so glad that it's like this?" And I did not initiate the divorce. So I think that if someone's listening and they didn't initiate the divorce, that you will get through the hard part. It is still hard co-parenting with someone I'm not in a relationship with, but overall, it's going to be for the best. Listening to those, so that's part one, but part two is listening to those positive voices that are telling you things like this. So you do, like you said, have people who want to help you. It's not you, like glomming onto someone or stealing someone's energy or whatever. Especially, women, especially the parents I know are super overextended. So you have multiple people you can talk to. You don't have to have one person who's your person, like a
Mm,
spouse. or even just one friend.
Mm-hmm.
So rely on your actual network of more than one person and trust your friends to be your friend. They do, if they're not coming through for you, that's a really big sign. And that did happen to me. But for the most part, people love you for you and want to be there for you. So let them be your friend and let them take care of you the way that you probably have been taking care of everyone this whole time.
What a way to end. I love that so much. Thank you so much for this beautiful insight, Laura. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.